Good morning. Back to painting. This is my day off, and a lot of fine detail needs to be painted today, so I'm going to try to focus on the really tricky stuff, and hopefully as my eyes get tireder then I'll focus on the bigger things that require a bit more sort of paint to go on. We'll see how we go. Let's see if we can get past. Thank God the video is skippable, otherwise I'd have to watch the whole thing. Alright, there we go. Got past that. Hi Joe, how's it going? Now, I will put the start time for this video down in the description so you can get past all of this, but all of my painting live streams go unlisted, therefore you have to have subscribed, hit the bell button, and also have notifications turned on. Kanoko, hello, how's it going? So, therefore, if you don't have all that turned on, you won't be able to access the live streams later on. Patrons get access to the live streams because I put them over on the Patreon page. But if you want to still access them, since they go unlisted, there is a playlist called Miniature Painting. And if you look for the playlist called Miniature Painting, you can go in there and you will be able to see the videos even though they are unlisted and access them later on if you need to. Okay? I know a lot of people like to listen to these as they're painting and crafting. Okay. Alright, so I think we've covered everything pretty much, and we'll go into the basics, which is basically, let's just get on with this, shall we? I'll just get rid of this. I don't need the earplugs anymore. And this is my day off, so feel free to chat along with me as I paint. Grab your own stuff if you want to. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons while I'm painting my flesh golem. Yes, that's right. I've been working on a flesh golem. This is out of the Castle Ravenloft board game. I don't know if you can buy it separately. Maybe you can. This is part 3, so we've been working our way, trying to turn this thing into something like this. I don't expect it to look exactly like that because that's a pretty good paint job. I'm not sure I'm good enough for something like that, but we'll see how we go. We're part way there. I'm going to be doing a lot of painting the stitches, so I don't know if it's necessarily going to be super interesting, but I will try to talk as much as I can and keep you entertained. And feel free to chat along with me. I'll try to keep a good eye on the chat. Okay, so I'm going to be using a layer brush, which is a very fine brush. You're going to be using, where is it? Vallejo black. So give that a good shake. Hi Candice, how's it going? Hi Paul, hello from British Columbia. Oh, cool, blimey. Hi Darren. The amigos are here, that's right. The amigos are here. So, it's been interesting. I've been watching the developments with this Dungeons & Dragons Essentials kit, and core blimey, bestseller. It's come out as a bestseller. It's doing very well. Its price is almost the same as the old Dungeons & Dragons starter set, and it's got more in it. So it's been a fantastic, taken by storm. Basically, I don't know how they are making money off this thing. But it's really good to see, and I'm glad that it's been so popular. I still haven't got my copy yet, and the number of reviews on that particular box set is just astronomical. The fact that the price has dropped, I mean, it's so cheap compared to the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials kit, and for what you're getting, I honestly think it's a fantastic deal. So I'm really pleased to see that, and I'm much more hopeful about running videos on that particular box set than I am on some of the videos I had to do or have done for the Lost Mine of Phandelver, which, to be honest, some of those were very, very difficult to get right. Right, so I'm going to be a lot of small movements, so if you're wondering what the heck I'm doing, I'm trying to paint in the stitches black. And the hand control is not too bad, I guess, right now, considering. Okay, alright, so that's that one. Let's go with, where is a really hard. I feel like the back is going to be much easier for me, so I want to go with a place where I'm going to have more trouble. So let's go, whoop, did I just stick a whole bunch of paint somewhere? Yeah, I did. That's right there. Splotted it on. Well done, Fred, well done. Okay, so we'll give it a quick clean off. Hi Fred, how's it going? What's that, Darren? It's a good kit, Fred. I'm going to do a review when I am done reading it. Okay, good. good for you. I'll certainly do something myself as soon as I get a copy of it, but it's going to have to wait a little bit because I still don't have it. Okay, so goblin skin, just to patch up the job that I just messed up accidentally. These things happen, right? And then it's back to doing the stitches. And then what? Now, I did talk about the new adventure book. That's Eberron, Rising from the Last War, and the standard cover has changed, and I think it is an improvement on what they had before. I think the first one just didn't really capture the idea. At least the new one has a Warforged on it. For those of you who know what Warforged are, I'm sure there are plenty. So that does make a lot more sense, and this is going to be an awful patch job, but I'll clean it up later. So that's good news. So we know that we're not going to be getting that other standard cover. For those of you who are worried about the fact that it didn't look that great and you wanted something else, it is going to be something else. Okay, so while we're here, I might just use this color. Is this the one I want? Goblin, and then fair skin. Yep, we'll use the goblin on the areas that I'd painted before that I hadn't really finished doing. So we'll just paint in that area there, clean it up. It'll just build out the color a little bit, and then it's back to doing stitches. So yeah, if you were worried about that new cover, don't worry about it. It's getting changed. And I mean, is anybody suspicious with all the unearthed arcana dropping? I am. There's been quite a few. So now we've got an unearthed arcana that dropped for the bard. That's the College of Eloquence, and then the paladin's got what, the Oath of Heroism. Heroism. Okay, so that means I think that there are developments in play, and we can probably expect something. I would not be surprised if that means that they have in the works either a supplement or another adventure that is going to have those included, but I don't think that's likely. I feel like they're going to probably put out another sort of supplement. And we won't know what it is until closer to when they're ready to release it, because it's still on playtest, right? So I would be suspicious, though. River's RPG channel, how's it going, mate? 5.5e maybe, or a new book. Well, yes. I mean, you know how I'd suggested that there might be a drop of not necessarily a Dungeons and Dragons 6e. But they might drop something like a 5e. I don't think that's likely. I think that's too soon. I think it's going to be a little bit longer, because we're only talking about 2020, and I feel like it's if anything is going to happen, it's going to be in 2021 or 2022 more likely. So just, it's going to be, man, painting these little suckers is going to be hard work. Put the paint on, get the paint off. Try to line it up and get the paint where you want it to. The wash is going to have to help me out a lot. I can see it right now. What's that, Joe? I'm getting the limited edition cover, but I like the new basic cover. Very, very cool. Yeah, I think it is an improvement. I think the limited cover makes more sense. I don't understand why the limited cover isn't really the standard, because it makes, I mean, capturing the idea behind Eberron is much more tied to that cover than any of the other ones they've put forward, even the new one. Maybe a revised player's handbook? Oh no, I don't think. I don't think it's going to be a Dungeons and Dragons 6e. I think it's going to be another supplement of some kind. I think that they feel like they're on a winning streak. They're not going to break the winning streak until somebody says they have to. In other words, they like a relaunch because they're doing something big. If Hasbro decides to invest a lot of money into a movie. that's probably the only time we'll see something like that. Okay, my eyes are struggling to see those stitches now. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum. So I had a look at the new Unearthed Arcana, and like all Unearthed Arcanas, I feel like they are... This one, I think these are not quite so overpowered compared to others that I've seen. But I do feel like every time they release these things, the vast majority of it is for combat. And I know that players don't understand non-combat player character additions, or you know, because the game is very much tied to combat. But I'm kind of getting a little bit worn out by all of the focus on combat, and hence you might have noticed that I have been doing a lot of videos that try to sort of steer people further away from that, and I will continue to do so because I think it's a good thing. Okay, so that's the stitches on that side. The stitches on this foot are not quite so bad. I might be able to actually pick them out a little bit easier. Let's just make sure I've got this. You let me know if you can't see. If I move out of shot, let me know. Yeah, I think, Darren, you're right. There's still a lot of life left in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. I think we've still got a few years yet. And they're still making plenty of money. But that doesn't mean that we wouldn't see a more stripped down version of Dungeons & Dragons 5e to try to capture a much younger audience, which I've said before I feel they will try to do. And I don't have an issue with that. I'm fine. Well, that looks blooming awful. It just looks like a great huge blob of paint, doesn't it? Okay, what have we got here? Still got some of this flesh colour. Maybe I can just repair some of the mess up. Sort of. Never mind. It'll be alright. And what have we got? Descent into Avernus, the new adventure book that got released. For those of you who are going to be asking me, am I going to buy Descent into Avernus? I'm probably very unlikely. Unless I get a job, it's unlikely. Usually I buy this stuff with the intent of at least I will be able to use pieces or ideas from the adventure book if I don't actually... Because I've got more adventures than I need. So in other words, there's more adventure books than I could possibly run sitting in my shelves. And I'm not really that interested in just collecting for the sake of it. So often I will buy these things because I know people want me to open them up and talk to them. And I can't do that unless I have a copy, right? So if my money situation changes, then yes, I'll get a copy. Otherwise, I will probably not. And I'm not terribly interested in running a adventure in the Nine Hells or even in Baldur's Gate. I feel like my players are already on the cusp of turning to the dark side as it is, and I don't need any help by me running an adventure that's revolving around that sort of topic. So, where falling from the light to the dark is going to be a lot easier. But the Eberron book, my understanding is that's massive. It's like 300 pages or more. That's a different story. I would be much more interested in that particular book. That's just my view anyway. What's that, Darren? There was a basic set back in the day that was heavily marketed as kids. So there is a precedent, yes. And I feel like they don't want to sort of make a completely different game for the kids. I feel like they'll want to use the basic concept behind Dungeons & Dragons 5e for the kids, but they'll need to sort of trim things away. So you might see things like, you know, feats and multi-classing won't even get any attention, which is interesting. I think that's a fairly sensible thing to do, but there are a lot of other little rules in the game that sort of aren't hugely necessary to actually get the idea of playing Dungeons and Dragons across, right? And then what else we got here? Fred, I was reading Descent into Avernus on the train. It's quite good so far. I don't dispute that it isn't a good adventure. I just feel like the topic. See, I used the 9 Hells when my players were of a particular alignment, where they had done so much that their alignments had shifted, and it made sense that we moved to that. I also did a one-shot, and my feeling was that it was so far from vanilla Dungeons and Dragons that a lot of players just could not get their head around that. Now, it might have just been that group, but I also felt it myself. I felt like, okay, this is actually probably not what I'm up for. So I'm reluctant to go back to the 9 Hells for any reason whatsoever. It's just my view. That doesn't mean it isn't going to be a good book or a good adventure. And so there's little stitches just along where the skin is broken away here, so I'm trying to get them. Now that looks like the stitching broke completely, so there's nothing to paint there, so that's a little bit helpful. And then I'll flip it around on top here. I'm going to just clean out my brush. Kinoko, what do you got here? Did you ever create your own campaigns from scratch? Yes, I did, but I don't create a lot of material for a campaign, Kinoko. Usually I just have one location. I might have an area map, that's it. I give it a name. I have a basic idea for an adventure story that I want, and that's usually just to get me past, 1 or 2 sessions, and that's about it. Maybe a little bit more. And then I will have like a continent map that's completely blank, with no names on it. And I've done that a couple of times where I've just let the players sort of fill in the gaps, or I've filled in the gaps and created names as I was ready to have them explore wider and wider and wider. And when they've said, about what do we know about this world, and I say that the thing is people don't travel in this world very much, and therefore knowing about distant lands is uncommon. It's not something you would normally do. So the idea was to sort of drive them away from the concept that they knew about this big, vast world. That the only way to know about the world was to go and explore it. And that's sort of how I ran a lot of my games. I don't do that quite so much because that takes a bit of time still. Oh, okay, so hang on. Just done that again. I should have turned the miniature around. I knew it when I moved the brush towards it. I was like, hang on, that's a mistake. Okay, so let's just tidy that up. It's a fraction. I think that fixed it. Hi Matt, how's it going? I like to take homebrew stuff and mix with published stuff, yep. And I like changing locations and sometimes go all homebrew. I like hex crawls, yep, fair enough, I like them. I've used them quite a few times. And I want to run another. Fred's talking about the concept, yes. Yeah, very much so. I've run Isle of Dread. I've mentioned that before, and to a large extent, a lot of the older adventures were like a hex crawl. They're fine. Some players don't like them. They like a lot more structure. And they feel like, if they're just wandering around and things are happening. So it means that you have to be really careful about how you run because those are essentially a big sandbox. When you're running a sandbox, you have to sort of understand that if everything they come across is a fight, it slowly becomes uninteresting. Unless you've got players whose really their only reason for playing the game is the combat system, which I find that most players nowadays are not just thinking about that. They're often thinking combat, but they're also thinking about what silly nonsense can I get up to. That's been my experience anyway. And there we go. Okay, so what I did notice is that Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D Beyond, is running videos suggesting how beginner dungeon masters could use Descent into Avernus. Now, when I saw this video, I just could not get over the fact, the marketing and the desire to sell this book was written all over it. And because an adventure that large for a new dungeon master with that kind of complexity, and it really requires a group that aren't going to fall into the trap of just winding up being like a murder hobo and falling to the dark side. It is not smart at all. I mean, I haven't seen the adventure, but I do feel like it was a marketing ploy to get the book to sell. And that is one video that I suggest you can watch and you should ignore. I think it is just appalling. What I did notice is they had another video called Preparing for Avernus. Now, you guys know that I've done quite a few videos on preparing different published adventures, and that video, although it may not give you everything you need, seems like a much smarter idea. And I think that is actually certainly worth your effort to go and check out if you're going to run the adventure, or you're planning to, because the person who is primarily responsible for writing it is actually talking to it. Gives you a few ideas about how you would go about doing that. Since you're not going to get that from me for that particular adventure, you can get it from them. Hi Fred, what's this? I run a very sandboxy campaign, lots of options, but always the BB in the background. Right, yes. I think the next campaign that I wind up running will be the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Kit adventure and the additional content that goes with it. But we'll see, because it really always comes down to players, right? Whew, my hands are sort of a little bit shaky now. And yeah. Cool, blimey, there's a lot of hard work involved in here. At least I've got, looks like I've got stitches around the back now, so that shouldn't be quite so difficult. What's it, Darren? Golem looks like like shark bit him. Yeah, it does look like a shark bit him. Or at least he's been bitten by a shark and somebody's tried to sew them all up. Okay, let's see if we can. I've got to just remember to get some of the paint off every time I do this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, she's a tricky one. Hi, how's it going, Carter Videos? What was the... Oh, that's right. Gale Force 9 has a bunch of new miniatures. You know, this is assembling miniatures. They're quite complicated, a bit expensive, because of high quality and so forth. You can pre-order in September, which of course it's September of this year. And there's a lot of the miniatures for Descent into Avernus if you're interested. So go check out their website if you want to see sort of what they have on offer. There were quite a few, at least 6 as far as I remember. Might have been more. Mad Maggie was there. If anybody is familiar with the Mad Maggie character that Jeremy Crawford was playing on Acquisitions Incorporated. Bam. Yeah, and that little one there. And there was one on the side there. If I just see if I can just... Not enough paint. Alright, let's try it again. And then, now I don't remember who had mentioned it to me, but I know it was one of my regulars. And Gale Force 9 is releasing a whole bunch of new monster cards at the end of this year. So I think it's in November. A lot of the additional content that you didn't get from the first 2 boxes. So for those of you who are interested in that sort of thing, particularly if you already picked up the first 2, there is supposed to be the epic monster cards. So there's something like Tarrasque. I imagine these cards will be quite large since there's a lot of information on them. So epic monsters, I would imagine things like your big dragons and your Tarrasque, and the beholders that were missing will probably be there. They'll be classified. So when they say epic, I suspect that means legendary creatures. So yes, you can expect that to come. That's supposed to be dropping in November. Then there's Volo's Guide to Monsters. That's supposed to have a monster card set as well. And then there's the Mordekainen's Tome of Foes monster cards. And then there's going to be a creature and NPC cards monster card set. So that's like your beasts that were excluded, and then your NPCs at the back of the monster manual. So those are things like the cultist and bandits and so forth. So if you wanted those things on a card, they will be coming in November. Bam, that's cool. Bugger me. Alright, let's just clean that off. Hi Matt, what do you got here? Seen an unusual miniature in a Kickstarter. A owlbear, really? Interesting. I know somebody is doing a Kickstarter for some sort of townsfolk. I'm not going to you'll have to go and search it out yourself, but I liked the idea because I remember him asking me, is there a market for it? And I said, absolutely, there is a market for it. Just depends on your price. But it comes down to not putting weapons in the NPC's hands. As soon as you do that, they're no longer really a non-combatant NPC, and that's often what Dungeon Masters want. So the signal to them, even when they put them out on the battle mat, is that they are not supposed to be turned into mush. Which tends to be the case. As soon as you put a battle mat out and players are playing the game, they'll grab something and, oh look, he's got a weapon. I attack that one. Oh, it's the barkeep. Oh well, never mind. So yeah, if the barkeep doesn't have a weapon, then it solves a lot of problems. That won't work with everybody. I'm sure some people will just go for it anyway. I'll just turn that around. Sorry if my angle isn't very good for you to see. It's just my eyes are starting to sort of get tired already. It's only been it's not even half an hour. And my hand is not quite as steady, so I'm having to work pretty hard to sort of focus on it all. So yeah, like I said, with all the Unearthed Arcana dropping, you can probably expect, I would say next year sometime, I don't know when, a new player's options book. Much like Xanathar's Guide to Everything. I think that's exactly what's in the cards for next year. Particularly with the quantity of Unearthed Arcana that's dropped recently. They're obviously prepping for a book. Okay, nice. Epic Donut 1109. Hey, how's it going? Any tips for DMing for an Aasimar player with neutral good alignment in Curse of Strahd? Just let him play the character. Not really. When I was running the Curse of Strahd, I didn't. The only requirement I had from players is they could not start playing a evil character. If the character became evil, that was a different story. But then I have a lot of other requirements from my group. Like, you can't just go and play any kind of character just for the sake of playing the character. I've always maintained that the integrity and importance of the group as a whole takes priority over role-playing games. That the integrity and how people feel about what you are doing at the table is more important. So that's one of the things I feel like you have to do with something like Curse of Strahd, because the Dungeon Master, I mean, essentially what I spent most of my time doing, and most Dungeon Masters would be, is spending my time trying to suck the players into the darkness, into the, you know, the dark realm, make them a servant of Strahd. And so therefore you really need to make it clear to them that they need to fight that urge, even though I'm doing everything I can to do the absolute reverse. And the only way that I know of to make that work is to make it clear that role-playing a character is not the most important aspect of the game. I know a lot of people don't understand that and they do not agree with me, but I don't care. Played with enough groups over the years to know that solve a lot of problems by taking into consideration the other people at the table rather than whatever you decide you want to play. And how many channels, D&D channels, talk about this very aspect? We're constantly having to answer questions regarding it for people who didn't pay attention the first time round, because I run into trouble. Okay, there, that's a bit of a clean up. A little bit too much paint that time. Okay, let's get this on. So I'm working my way down the back. Now, I don't normally watch the Dungeon Mastercraft. It's not really a channel that I watch very much, but I watched a video that he had done called the videos not the rules I don't use, and I felt it was very smart. It was a good video. It addressed a really good topic, and it talked about the fact that multi-classing and feats are optional rules, and that Dungeon Masters should feel free to not use them. The only problem is this very topic has come up in my group, where a discussion has started where they're talking about, well, maybe the next campaign we don't use multi-classing and we don't use feats because the characters get so complicated and the Dungeon Master has to do so much study to understand what's going on with all the things that are mixing together. And, you know, if you use feats and you multi-class, you can really make a far more effective character than somebody who is not. And to a certain degree that's true, and sometimes that's not actually true. So, but the problem is with something like feats and multi-classing is if you say to somebody who's been playing Dungeons and Dragons, particularly if they've been playing for a while, no, you can't use feats and you can't multi-class, they feel like they've been robbed. I've said this before, and I thought it was really interesting how he approached it and why he does it that way. He's clearly got a group who has accepted that way of operating, which is great. But for everybody else, it's really too late. As soon as you make those sorts of things available, a lot of people get bored, you know. The reason they're not playing chess anymore or not playing card games is they got bored of playing those games and they thought, no, we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons because, you know, that's a game that's got lots of variety and lots of different options. And then, of course, if they wanted real complexity, they go to Pathfinder where there was, you know, an endless supply. And we were going back to Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 where there were so many options and so many things you could do. It got very unwieldy. And then he started talking about group initiative. And you guys already know I use a group initiative system. and I've tried to use a couple of different ways of using group initiative, but I liked his way of doing group initiative and his rationale, because to a large extent it was what I was thinking myself, is how do I reduce the workload, and how do I, simplify things and make combat run more smoothly and a bit quicker. I don't actually like slow combat. I like combat, but I want it to run quickly. I do not like having to sit there while we wait for players to make decisions and roll dice, and some players take an awful long time, particularly at high level, because they've got to roll so many dice to get their turn done. And it's really messes things up. And I've talked about different methods for using initiative or group initiative. Just roll a dice. 1 to 3 go left, 4 to 6 go right, and everybody just takes a turn. But I also like the idea he was discussing, how everybody takes their turn. Everything's happening at once. So even if you were in the same round and somebody decided, okay, we're going to the left, we're going to the right based on the dice roll, but my character's now on 0 hit points, well, it didn't mean that they would drop. It would mean they would drop at the end of the round. And I thought, well, that's a smart way of doing it. I've used a few different methods for group initiative or initiative. Maybe I should do another video on the topic, because I have only got partial experience in the area. I've heard dungeon masters have used various methods for initiative who really had only positive things to say. But really the feedback has to come from players in terms of their response to how you changed initiative. If you're going to change the way that initiative works in the game based off whatever's in the core rules, if you're going to change it, their response and interest in the way that you're doing it needs to be something they will embrace rather than fight you on. The idea is to get everybody to come back to the table, right? Right, I apologise if I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat. I've been focusing a lot on trying to paint stitches. I've almost got most of them done. Thankfully, I would like to be able to put a different colour on this thing. What's that, Matt? No one ever complains about not using the optional healing rule. Which optional healing rule are you talking about? Because there's quite a few. I thought I should also consider doing a video on the optional identifying magic items, because I did a video on identifying magic items and how to do that. And then I thought, well, actually, let's talk about the optional one, because to be fair, I don't really like the current rules for identifying magic items. I know why it's done, but I still, after almost 4 years, I don't like it. It doesn't really appeal to me. Ah, right, the long rest. Okay. You're talking about the one in the Dungeon Master Guide. I think I know what you're talking about. I might have done a video on the topic as well. What did I just do? Is it obvious? Can I see it? Not really. Don't worry about it. Move on. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. So what are people painting today? Or working on? Or are you driving to work? Or you're still at work? It's a Sunday here, so I suspect it's Friday for a few people. Not Sunday, it's Saturday here in New Zealand, so it'll be Friday. Yeah, Friday in the States, or most parts of the States. It depends on where you are in the world. Canada would be Friday, I'm pretty sure. We're talking about a continent, right? So it's a big place, so it's going to be different time zones right across the whole thing. I remember somebody was mentioning how they were used to time zones in Australia, and so and I was like, yeah, but it's a continent. There's 5 different time zones in that country because it's an entire continent. It's as big, if not bigger, than the North America, Australia. It's massive. There's not much there though. When I say not much there, there's not that many people considering the landmass. And my brother Sam is over there right now, actually. So what do you do? What do we got here? Candace, I'm going to a Ren fair. A Ren fair tomorrow? Oh, okay, I'm not sure what that is, but all right, cool. It's a fair. You're going to a fair. Fred is playing RuneScape and listening. Ah. Now, when you say RuneScape, is that a digital RuneScape game rather than a RuneScape as in the tabletop board game, right? So I think there's two. There's a board game and there's an electronic version. Okay, so I've got the back ones done now. What have I missed? Look at it, Fred. Look at it. I've got a whole arm full of stitches to paint. My gosh. All right. So I've got about 20 minutes. And then I'm going to go and do some stuff. I've got to plant my vegetables and so forth. So let's see if I can get most of them done. And a bit more. So I can tell you now, if you decide to paint the stitches, it's going to take you a long time. Or maybe it's just me that's taking a long time. Could be that. Hi Paul, how's it going? It's Friday in Canada. Yep, got it. And lucky, I wish we had them here. Ah, interesting. After playing since 1980, I've adopted a new way of initiative. Whoever gets the highest roll goes first, and then the person to the left goes next. Fair enough. Totally understand. It makes perfect sense. Like I said, I've tried a couple of different methods, and so I can only talk to those because I did ask for feedback from players, so I can only talk to them. But I have had Dungeon Masters who have talked about how they've used other methods, particularly when they had really big tables. And they said, no, it all worked out well, and people were quite happy with what was going on. But you never know unless you actually hear it from the player's mouth. Okay, so where am I? Ah, there we go. Just a little bit of this. I think I just overdid it with that arm, so I'm going to try to clean up just a little bit around there. And okay, hopefully that's good enough. I hope it is. Joe, I am at work, but I did start my blue Dracolich the other day after I sent you those pictures. Oh, cool. You know, Joe, you could, if you wanted, and if you were willing, you could just take like 6 pictures of different angles of those miniatures, send them to me, and I'll just turn it into a slideshow, and I'll show everybody. I'd be more than happy to do that. And those miniatures were really impressive. Certainly feel like they were better than what I could do. Okay, so I don't think I can see a stitch on that. So, oh no, maybe there is one on the inside there. It's very small. Well, that's not working. Let's get a bit more paint on there. Pennsylvania. You're in Pennsylvania. Epic Donut 1109. Did you have a spell casting service when you ran Curse of Strahd? That hag, Jenny Greentooth or whatever? No, I did not. No. I did not offer them I tried to. The problem is wherever they went, usually that township died. So many bad things happened. Vallejo got wiped out and never really fully recovered, so they only sort of passed through there after that. The vast majority of the places they went to fell into ruin. And I played it out like this was like the final dawn for Barovia. that they, you know, as they were working against Strahd, and Strahd was, you know, really, it was only a matter of time before Strahd would lose, and he knew it, and he would go out of his way just to obliterate everything, or to set up situations where the players would have an interaction that would result in everything in that area just resulting in like just a lot of collateral damage. So and that was very much my approach with that adventure. I think it worked well. Personally, I think it did work well. I just need a drink of water, pardon me. I really want to get these stitches done, but where are we? Stroke. Try again, Fred. Okay. Now, where are we? Where did I get up to? There we are. There's about 3 along that wrist, and there's 1 on that arm. Here we go. Cool. Got it. What do we got here? Pull. No tracking numbers across the table, no visual aids to hang off the DM screen, just a simple solution for me and my 4 players. Fair enough. I did ask the players and they were okay with it. Well, that's good news. Darren, wow. 38 Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. Looks awesome. Alright. That's how people do it with card games initiative. It seems fair to me. Yeah, I know a few players who probably would be upset by that, but I don't think they would accept anything, those particular players, unless they were just using the basic initiative rules in the Dungeons & Dragons 5e rulebook. I can see already that when I start running the next campaign that there'll be a couple of people who will not understand why I want to use group initiative, that will want to run it as is in the book because they'll feel like they're missing out or losing out in some way. And that was never the intention of the group initiative that I presented as an optional role. It was always designed to just speed things up, get things going, because some players get their turns done a lot faster. Okay, hang on. I need a little bit more black. That black's just not going to be soft enough, so I'll just loosen it up a bit. Candace, it's so much fun. I try to go every year. Jousting, human chess, great music and costumes. 38 weeks. 13 weeks. I could go next year if I put my mind to it, and always wanted to. Alright, well, cool. You learned something new. Alright, let's see if this last little bit will tidy up. Okay, I think I have painted all of the stitches. Cool, blimey, that was really not fun, but we got there. It's done. Okay, all right. So clean out the brush. Let's just put a bit more of that. I think we're going to do with the fair skin on the areas that I had already painted that I'd missed last time. We'll go over them. There's a lot in the States looking to just, okay. Post pictures on Facebook group. Fair enough. Yep, go for it. What's that, Darren? Fred should have a link in the channel description. Welcome, I'm not sure. Yeah, that's right. Down in the description at the very bottom, under social media, you'll find the Facebook group page. It's not a page as in like a business page, because the community asked for a group where they could actually post things and share information. So that's what that is set up to do. I just ask that it be more related to the community rather than personal advertising. If you're going to do personal advertising, then you come and ask me about that first. Often I will do it for you. I just won't do it repeatedly. That's the only thing. I think a lot of people forget that sometimes. I know that I did when I first started out. I didn't understand there are some etiquette rules for operating on social media. And one of them is not to be promoting your own stuff on somebody else's YouTube channel unless they are willing, and certainly not to promote it on some of their social media platforms. It's a really awkward situation. I didn't really fully understand it until somebody did it to me recently. Okay, alright, so that is that covered. We're definitely going to need to do something with the chest areas. I've covered most of the bits that I needed to be red, so that's good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with some oily steel, since I've got a little bit of time left, and see if we can coat those areas. Human chessboard does sound like fun. Into it. Yeah, no, that's all right, Darren. Yeah, just join. Look, if it takes me a little bit of time to process it, you've got to understand that particular Facebook group does not have any moderators. It's just me. I have total control over it, so nobody else, can decide to start doing things a particular way, which means sometimes it takes me a little bit longer to get to things than people might like. But if you're patient, I will get it up. I'll get to it. I usually do. Those teeth are just so small. Okay, alright, I think I've kind of covered the teeth in the black. We will go back over that. Let's get the oily steel going. What do you got here? What's that, Joe? Fred, you're a pretty good painter yourself. Look, you have people watching you, so you must be good. I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that. I just like to do it because I relax. I try to sort of forget about other things, which is always nice. And yeah. I guess my level of skill is not so far removed that somebody else can't get to it, because, imperfect eyes, imperfect hand coordination, and if I was really, really good, I feel like that would be intimidating. Alright, let's just get some oily steel on here. Now, I did not water this down. Do I need to? Yeah, I do. Oh well, I'll do it. We'll water it down. Just be careful because this stuff doesn't cover very well sometimes. Okay, here we go. So let's get that little chest piece done. And Yeah, I feel like that's too much paint. Now I'm going to try and get it off. Yeah, that's better. That's better. Yep. Good. Very nice. Yeah, I think the flesh golem will be alright. Epic Donut, you're welcome, no problems. Well, I'd like to think that I can give excellent advice, but as long as it's just practical advice. I have to say I've been struggling recently as I watch some of the other YouTubers giving out advice, and I just feel like, oh my gosh. I hope I don't sound like that, because sometimes I'm a little worried that I sound like I'm a person who's saying you shouldn't do something a certain way, when that's really never been. Now let's just have a look at my picture. It's not really what I want to sort of communicate. What I want to communicate to people is you should always try everything at least once. Now there's something at the top there. Is there a bit on the shoulder that I've missed? And then down around the belt is pretty obvious to see. Then around the head, that band, I can paint that in. And then on the flesh. Okay, let's see if I can pick that out. There it is. Couldn't really see it before. But there is something there, isn't there? Now that I've put a bit of paint on it, it does actually sort of stand out a bit. Okay, alright, let's just... Back to the chat. Back to the chat. Hi, David. We can... A single eyelash or a toothpick for fine brushwork. Yeah, but it's not just that. It's my hand-eye coordination isn't fantastic either. Bracing is always nice, but it's why, even though I would like to paint for longer, I try not to paint for more than an hour, because I just wind up making more of a mess than if I'm constantly having to go back and fix things. Not quite so good. Now I'm almost went cross-eyed there, I don't know why. Yeah, it has been a while, David. 2020 will be the second year, so no wonder I haven't heard of it. Oh, okay. Alright. Oh, that's that fair you guys are talking about. Fred, it's been a while since I've been able to check in. What's the status with the job search? I applied for a job yesterday, and I got turned down. They were looking for somebody to do landscape, and I don't think I really had the skills they were looking for at Bunnings. So it's alright. There's still a chance I get a job. There's still a role that I'm waiting on. I filled out the application form. They've interviewed me. They've got to check out my referees. So there's still a chance I might get a job. But the good news is that there's enough money coming in from the government and from AdSense revenue at present, and the stuff you guys buy on Amazon and the Patreon, to just barely live on. So as long as nothing big crops up for me and I don't have a major disaster, I can feed myself, I can pay my bills, I can pay my mortgage, and I just got to live very, very simply. So I can't really buy anything, and I've had to build a veggie garden. So that's what I tend to do with a lot of my spare time, is I work in the garden, checking that the snails haven't eaten all my food, and laying down eggshells and garlic plants and picking things off and putting insect netting down, and don't even bother with the slug bait anymore. The slugs don't even eat it. And I was told that they will eat orange peels, but they ain't even eating the orange peels now. I don't know how that's possible. I mean, do snail babies talk with the appearance or something. So I don't understand what's going on there. But yeah, so I can survive in a sort of fairly basic rudimentary way at present, even if I don't get the jobs that I would like. So I'll be alright. Cross my fingers, yep. Hope for the best, but at present I can manage. And I am thankful for that, because before I was really starting to stress. So let's get this bit here coated. And that makes that stand out a little bit. I want to do something with this mouth, because this mouth is really bugging me. I don't know what it is. The eyes are bugging me. The mouth is bugging me. I feel like I haven't done anything with it. Slugs and snails. Put a shadow dish of beer and it will drown it. Yeah, shallow dish of... Well, yeah, people have talked about all sorts of things to lure them in, and they haven't really worked. Okay, so I'm going to do the teeth. We're at about an hour, but I'm going to do the teeth. I've decided that the teeth are getting some white on them, just because they just look so weird the way they are. And the belt really needs a bit of silver as well. Oh yes, look, I've got my windows open. It's a hot day, and I'm going to take... Well, it's not a hot day, but it's a warm day, and I'm going to take the opportunity to get a bit of air in here, because very, very shortly I will not be able to paint anymore, and I'll have to shift back to doing the crafting videos, because the paint won't dry. It'll be too... okay, so this is going to be a problem. I can see that now. Give me a second. I'm going to need a much drier brush to get the white on. And it's such a small area. Alright, I think I got it under control. I'm thinking of painting mine green with purple pants like the Incredible Hulk, but I'm probably only half serious. Ah dear. I like the idea. Okay, so change the angle. Right, so the top teeth are showing up. That's good. Let's see if we can get the bottom teeth. There's hardly anything there to paint. Yep, that's good. I think that's got that pretty well set in place. That's good news. I'm happy with that. And what do I want to do here? I want to I want to use this silver oily steel. I won't water it down, and I'll just go around this belt very, very quickly. And just get some paint onto it. Don't slugs. Yeah, but snail and slug beer sounds chunky. Look, everything is growing really fast right now, and when I moved out here to Helensville, what I discovered is that the insects out here are a different kettle of fish to what you get in the city, and they're a lot more aggressive and more, I don't know, smarter maybe, if that's possible. Just the way that they behave is just a bit different to what I'm used to. So you have to have multiple techniques in place, and not everything works. The plan is to actually use the garlic plants and mix that up with a water solution to kill my nasty snails, or to at least keep them off the plants, and you mix it with some soapy water so it sticks to the plant. And apparently they don't like the garlic. They don't try to eat the garlic plant. And so if I can get garlic residue on the rest of the other green plants, she should be all good. Yes, and I'm not suggesting that you should try to make a Dungeons and Dragons monster that is a slug or a snail. Not at all. Carnivorous slugs, look out. Would be a very exciting battle, wouldn't it? Oh, look out, there are slugs, they're coming for you. What should you do? I know. We can walk very slowly away from them and we will be fine. They move so slow, unless of course you give them super speed. Like the snail from the Never-Ending Story. The first one. A racing snail. Have you seen a racing snail? Has anybody seen that movie, that animated movie called Turbo, with the racing snail? And he winds up in is it a Formula One race? Just after swallowing nitro. Is it nitro? No, it was nitro anyway. Okay, so that is silver. I feel like that strap should be dealt with. I'm going to do it. Does that mean that I'm finished? I don't think so. But I do know that I'm closer to where I was than before. So let's just give this a little bit of black in the bottom. And then painting that strap. What's that pull? Although it's a flesh golem, it's made of different bodies. Can some limbs be black and green, lizard folk? Yeah, I suppose they could. Paint it however you want. Don't have to paint it just because a particular way, just because I am. I didn't really have any original ideas about what to do with this miniature. My intention was to just sort of copy what somebody else had done and to see how well it turned out. Now, is that strap all the way down? Yeah, it is. I think that's got it. Cool, blimey. Tricky stuff. A little bit more, and then we'll put that little bit of silver over it. And that'll get it pretty close. There's a lot of tidy up required around the pants, and a bit more clean up required where the fleshy red bits are. I think there'll need to be some work done there as well. Okay, so let's flip this round. I apologise if the miniature is upside down. It's sort of easier for me to get at. We'll turn them around the other way for a second. That probably won't help. You won't be able to see anything but the base. Upside down is probably better. Alright, so let's just get a little bit of this on here. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think this black is going to have to actually set a bit before I can do very much with this. Yep. I'm trying to put it on, but it's not going to do anything. So, need to know when to quit, and I need to let this paint dry thoroughly before trying to do anything else to it. So I think that's probably a good point at which to sort of show you what I've done. Give it a flip round. Let's have a quick look at the chat here before I sort of give it a spin and let you have a look at what we've got done so far. Although it's a flannel, yep, we'll cover that. Now I need to find a tremendous snail shell for my gnome to turn into his house. I like that idea. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Fantastic idea. Okay, so let's give it a spin so you can see. I'll just try to get you a good view and move it sort of roughly into the center of the screen and then give it a turn. So you can see I've done the teeth. They're slightly white. I haven't done very much with the eyes. I'm going to leave the eyes. I still haven't decided how to deal with the eyes. Done the belt. I've done all the stitching. We've got a few of the metal bits that are on it coated. The belt and I started doing the bit that's sort of hanging down, but that wasn't going to work. That's all the front, and we've got the headband, silver, and then you can see the stitching on the side. I think it's going to look better once there's a bit of a wash on it, and once I've tidied up around the pants. So there you can see there's all the stitching on the top where the neck is, and down the back, and the spine, and then bring this round. You can see the silver. So there we go, and then flick this round here, and you can see there's bits of stitching on that arm, but they're broken free, so there's a bit of flesh showing. As a miniature, I'm very impressed. I think it's a fantastic miniature myself, and yeah, I've sort of started to tidy up around the bits that I had missed before, but really the pants and the flesh and the eyes need a bit of work, and there's a bit of silver work to be done as well, and of course a wash. So if you enjoyed yourself, great news. I'm glad it has killed some time and you've had an opportunity to chat along with me. Hey, thank you, patrons and everybody who showed up and hung out with me while you're doing your own stuff. I know that it can be a bit awkward and it's long form content, so it's a bit tricky as well. If you're looking for more of my painting videos, I do have some playlists, old painting videos on a variety of different things. So one of them is called painting D&D miniatures, I believe, and that's not they're not unlisted, those videos, so you can easily search for those, all sorts of different things. If you're looking for the unlisted videos or live streams that I do nowadays, as I said, there is a playlist called Painting Miniatures, and you should be able to find that near the top. Just go on there, you'll find all of the unlisted videos are sitting in there. If you've missed something and you wanted to go back and watch something for whatever reason, because you can't get into the live stream, not a problem. You can still access them right there. I have hundreds of videos for players and dungeon masters. You're welcome to go and check out if you are interested in that sort of stuff, different topics. If you want to support the channel so I keep doing stuff like this, then I have a Patreon page where you get access to the unlisted videos. You also get priority on the videos that I make and some extra content. I have an affiliate link to the book depository on Amazon down in the description. I have a merchandise shelf under all of my videos as well if you want some merchandise. Make sure to share, like and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. Make sure to turn on your notifications as well, otherwise you won't be able to get at these things. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Where is my 20? Right there. There's my 20.